Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. This is live show 1237. If you're not overly familiar with what the hell this is, keep in mind it's super casual around here. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then I will normally take a first look at a game, might unbox a board game or page through a role-playing game release. Every once in a while, I might tackle a topic related to our hobby. And every blue moon, I just share the news and just hang and chew the fat with chat. But tonight, we are diving on in and taking a first look at the brand new Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault 2 from Kobold Press. So stay tuned. We are diving on in. This clocks in, I believe, if I remember correctly, 355 pages, over 300 new monsters. So we're going to be taking a peek at this tonight. Of course, if you are tuning in for the live first look, please keep in mind, we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here. So it's probably going to be 35, 40 minutes before we get into Monster Vault 2. If you're watching live, just kick your feet up, relax, enjoy yourself. Now, of course, if you're watching after the stream has ended, maybe even on Memorex, there are going to be timestamps. Now, those timestamps, yes, the time is taking a stance. Those timestamps are located in the show notes. And of course, depending on the device you might happen to be watching this on, timestamps might be right there in the timeline of the video too. So if you don't want to check out the latest tabletop gaming news, you can jump past it, get right on into the Monster Vault 2. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube, such as Sammy's review of the Cosmere role-playing game releases to this point. I think she's working on the campaign adventure as I speak. But she also shared her review of Legend in the Mist from Son of Oak Game Studio. I know a lot of people are very curious about that rustic fantasy role-playing game. It is a written review over at thegaminggang.com, so don't miss out. Now, of course, because this is a live show, there is also chat available. You must be a member, subscriber, essentially, for at least 60 minutes before you can take part in chat. And, of course, if you check off that box, you've been a subscriber for at least an hour and you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Semper Buffo, Captain Finity, Time Travel Police, Testy Trekkie, Kevin R. Smith, GameCat DB, and Keithulhu are also with us tonight. I'll take a guess. The lovely and talented Miss Sarah D, one of our chat moderators, might be lurking in the shadows somewhere. She of the glittery banhammer. So welcome aboard, everybody. Let's jump right on into the news. because there is a new Pathfinder board game which is up for crowdfunding for Paizo Inc. It is over on BackerKit. I've got the scoop on Pathfinder Quest. Pathfinder Quest is a cooperative adventure board game for 1 to 4 players. Build your characters from the ground up by choosing their ancestry, class, and ability cards, and dive right in and play a pre-built iconic hero. From character creation to combat challenges and exploration, each player's actions matter, with choices that ripple through the entire multi-session campaign. Designed to bridge the gap between quick randomized dungeon crawlers and sprawling prep-heavy delvers, Pathfinder Quest offers a full campaign of 12 possible adventures, each lasting approximately 2 hours. With no game master required, an introduction that swiftly teaches the rules as you play, and a rich narrative that rewards teamwork, this game is sure to be a hit, whether your group is new to tabletop gaming or seasoned veterans of the adventuring life. Dead things prowl the woods around the town of Falcon's Hollow. No longer content to rest in their graves, they stalk the living, hungry for their flesh. Worse still, the nearby volcano of Droskar's Crag has begun to spew plumes of black smoke, threatening to cover all Dark Moon Vale in a cloud of burning ash. The people of Falcon's Hollow turn to you to save them. Your 4 adventurers are all that stand between the small lumber town and total destruction. Do you have what it takes to track the undead to their source and defeat this dire evil before it's too late? There is a short crowdfunding video. It's a little bit less than 2 minutes. So let's give it a peek.
Die Stadt Falkenhöhle hatte schon einige Probleme mit Kobold, doch diese Zeiten sind lange vorbei. Falkenhöhle ist heute ein beliebter Zwischenstopp für reisende Abenteurer und Händler und der Ort, an dem du und deine Gefährten euch wiederfinden. Gerade als die Gefahr naht, marschieren Horden von Untoten auf die Stadt zu, bedrohen die Stadtbewohner, verängstigen die Tierwelt und sorgen für Chaos, während du und deine Gefährten nach der Quelle dieser untoten Störung suchen. Ein noch größeres Geheimnis und eine noch größere Bedrohung offenbaren sich. Die Zeit drängt. Wirst du die Stadt Falkenhöhle retten? Oder werden die Feuer der Vergangenheit in die Zukunft hineinbrennen? Pathfinder Quest ist ein kooperatives Abenteuer-Brettspiel für 1 bis 4 Spieler. Jeder Spieler erstellt seinen Charakter, indem er eine Abstammung, Klasse und Fähigkeiten auswählt. Kein Spielleiter erforderlich. Pathfinder Quest ist ein vollständig selbstgeführtes und kooperatives Spiel. Richte jedes Abenteuer gemäß den Anweisungen im Abenteuerbuch ein und sei auf Überraschungen an jeder Ecke gefasst. Überwinde eine Vielzahl von Herausforderungen in Erkundungs- und Kampfszenarien, aber behalte die Uhr im Auge. Zeit ist eine kostbare Ressource und man weiß nie, was passiert, wenn sie abläuft. Jede Entscheidung ist wichtig. Der Dorfbewohner, den du im ersten Abenteuer rettest, könnte ein wertvoller Verbündeter auf der bevorstehenden Reise werden. Und ein verpasster Schritt könnte den endgültigen Untergang bedeuten. Es liegt an dir, die Stadt Falkenhöhle zu retten und eine Katastrophe zu verhindern. Wirst du dem Ruf folgen? Pathfinder Quest ist als Standard- und Deluxe-Edition mit Add-ons für kampagnenexklusive 3D-gedruckte Monster erhältlich. Pathfinder Quest, jetzt im Unterstützer-Kit.
The BackerKit project for Pathfinder Quest is fully funded. In fact, it cracked the $250,000 mark earlier today. You can reserve a copy of the standard edition for a $100 pledge through October 16th. Expected fulfillment is spring of next year. There are loads of different pledge levels for this. So some have a bunch of miniatures. The minis look really cool. In fact, I want to say there are some pledge levels where it's only for the miniatures, not even the game. I may have seen that incorrectly, but honestly, I mean, like I said, the miniatures look really, really nice. At the standard edition, I think you only get the heroes. as miniatures. So there is that. I have had a few people ask me how come there was no preview video for Pathfinder Quest from the gaming gang, seeing that month in, month out, we share first look videos. We have the Paizo preview. We have reviews of everything that comes out, and we've done that for years. And then suddenly people like Hungry Gamer or The Hungry Gamer, whatever he calls himself, suddenly has review videos of Pathfinder Quest. People are like, really? It's like, you guys review all their stuff and you didn't do a preview video? All I got to say, I was not asked. That's it. Nobody asked me if I was interested in taking a peek at this. So there you go. Because I had to laugh because people are like, hey, how come you didn't? It's like, because nobody asked me to. All right, Mike and Lord Koss 2000 are popping on in, as has, let's see, Kathy Evans is also with us. I see that we also have Raven popping in, throwing the chat into just a complete, like, what would I say? How would I say that? I don't want to say a tizzy because it's just a question that was asked and everybody's got to throw in their thoughts of it in there. So has stirred chat up, not in a negative way. So their question is, well, two questions actually. One was, do you prefer to learn a new role-playing game from a starter set or from the core rule book? My answer to that would be, depending on how much I know about the game already. So if it's a game that I'm familiar with, even though I don't necessarily know, mechanically how it operates, if it's something that I know a little bit about and I'm really interested in, I would probably rather have the core rule book or rule books in order to learn the game. If it's something that I know nothing about, I would probably prefer the starter set. And as Kevin R. Smith has pointed out, it really does depend on how much character creation information is in that starter set as far as what they, will lean into. I completely get that. Raven also asks, how does the Pathfinder starter set compare to the Heroes of the Borderlands, which just came out? The Pathfinder beginner box is really nicely done. It's got pawns. It's got plastic stands for the pawns. I will say that the Heroes of the Borderlands starter set actually has more stuff in it. As far as the adventure goes, there's quite a bit more adventuring to be found in Heroes of the Borderlands as opposed to the beginner box. The beginner box adventure is also fairly standard as far as introductory adventures go for fantasy role-playing games. Like, you start off by fighting giant rats in the basement of a tavern, which I think is thrown in there just because it's such a trope. But it's not a real long adventure by any stretch. But both are equally good. I still think the beginner box is $29.99-ish, whereas we already know that Heroes of the Borderlands is $49.99. So if price is a major consideration, for a lot of people it is, you might steer towards the beginner box. Part of it too is, do you want to learn Dungeons and Dragons or do you want to learn Pathfinder? There is that. There is that. All right, moving right along. Back in print for our friends over at Columbia Games is the Kingdom of Chibisa for Harn World Here's the latest. Chibisa is Harn's smallest realm, but is rich in both history and natural resources. The kingdom sits in the fertile valley of the Omirian River, where a succession of cultures across 2 millennia have woven a complex cultural tapestry. The kingdom's story is one of ebbs and flows, with intrepid settlers, lands lost to barbarians, invasion and assimilation, secession and intrigue. Surrounding the kingdom are the ranges of 3 barbarian nations. While the Bujak to the east are wary and few in number, the Hodri in the south and the Pegalian in the north are among the most populous and aggressive tribal nations on Harn. Relations with the kingdoms of Kaldor and Mildiran are peaceful if somewhat strained, for both have claims to Chibisa. Though neither seems inclined to press their case, the situation worries King Virid VII. Oaths sworn and broken by Virid's father lie at the root of these claims and are also a matter of contention with elements in the Church of Lorani. The internal and external pressures on Chibisa provide opportunities for those brave enough to grasp them. The only bridge across the Omirian is at the royal seat of Burzin, giving Chibisa control over trade along the Jenin Trail between Mildiran and Kaldor. Love all these fictional names that just roll off the tongue. The rich mines in the Anadel Highlands are threatened by man and beast. Wars and plagues have left a number of abandoned and ruined manors ripe for resettlement. Ancient mines and forests, take that back. Ancient mines and fortresses of the elder folk lie waiting to be discovered. Chibisa is the 8th of 9 fantasy kingdoms printed in a beautiful hardcover format. Each kingdom is filled with political and player maps, detailed heraldry and genealogies, statistics on military resources, and prominent noble families. The hardback also contains the sites of Burzin, Geta, Laranil, Omden, Nemedes, and Jenin Trail. This 134-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $59.99. I would mention the PDF, but the PDF that is available, at least at DriveThruRPG, is not this book. So a lot of times what Columbia Games has done with their hardcover Kingdom books, which I have taken a peek at some, I have shared them on, some of them have hit the live stream. I think there are 1 or 2 I did just standalone videos of. But you'll find that multiple PDFs that have been released previously are all collected in the hardcover. But if you go to get the PDF, you're just getting the shorter PDF. So as an example, if you went to DriveThruRPG and you took a peek at this in PDF, you'll see the same cover, but it says it's only a 34-page PDF. Now, could that be wrong? Of course. We see miscounts on page counts all the time on DriveThruRPG. But as I mentioned, normally what you'll get is just that one PDF, whereas it's already pointed out in the sell sheet info, there are additional locations which are included in this hardcover. Always love checking out the Harn stuff. Folks at Columbia Games are good people as well. And if you are looking for a rather low fantasy, kind of boots on the ground, down and dirty sort of fantasy role-playing game, you might want to take a look at Harn Master. And of course, Harn World is system agnostic. You can utilize it for any role-playing game you would like. No Limelight Productions is joining us in chat. Might be a first-time visit in chat. I don't necessarily recall that nickname. Let's see. The Madman has arrived in chat. Good to see you as well. W Forge is also checking on in. So we got a nice chat rocking and rolling already. Moving right along, a light edition of the Adventures Dark and Deep has landed in print and PDF from author Joseph Block and BRW Games. Here's what I know. Adventures, did I say dark? Yeah, Dark and Deep. For a second, I was like, did I say Adventures Deep and Dark? It's like, nope. I said it correctly. I want to make sure I, get the title of the game correct. Adventures Dark and Deep started off as an attempt to make the game Gary wanted to make, but couldn't because he left TSR in the mid-1980s. Okay, I wouldn't say he left. He kind of got shown the door. He got the boot. So, yeah, didn't have an opportunity to do a second edition. Based on the first edition of the world's most popular role-playing game, it added all sorts of new material, reorganized things, and streamlined some places where the rules needed it. Since it was originally published, Adventures Dark and Deep has grown and had supplements and additions to add to the variety of options available to the players. The current book, Adventures Dark and Deep Light, goes in a different direction, paring down all of the material into a sleek 175-page book. There are only 5 core character classes: Bard, Cleric, Fighter, Magic User, and Thief. Only 5 character races: Dwarf, Elf, Half-Elf, Halfling, and Human. And characters can only go as high as 8th level. There are around 200 monsters in the book and enough magic items to excite the greed of your players. The 175-page hardcover with PDF is available over at DriveThruRPG for $44.95. If you want to just grab the PDF, you can do so for $9.99. I've always been curious about Adventures Dark and Deep, simply because it is presented as Dungeons and Dragons, well, essentially Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, second edition if Gary had still been in charge of the show over at TSR. Now, I do also know that Gary Gygax had worked with our friends over at Trollord Games. I don't know if he necessarily, I've never actually taken a peek if they've ever given Gary Gygax a design credit. I don't think they have, but I know he did advise them on Castles and Crusades. And I always mention, yeah, that could have been like, what Dungeons and Dragons became if Gary Gygax had still been around all those years later at TSR. You know what? Honestly, I personally think TSR would have gone underway sooner if Gary Gygax had stayed in charge. But hey, that's just me, because I don't think they would have embraced the publishing aspect, the publishing angle as heavily as they did, which actually kept them afloat for a long time. I'm just saying. But yeah, Adventures Dark and Deep, I have heard good things about. I'd be curious to check it out. Now, I have to be completely transparent here. Not that you can see through me, but I am just letting you know I could not find any images for the interiors of Adventures Dark and Deep Light. So the pages you're looking at are from Adventures Dark and Deep. And just letting you know. I'm sure it's very, very similar. Might even use some of the same artwork as well. Let's keep moving along, because our Talsorian Games has released single player mode for Cyberpunk Red. Here's the latest. You can go it alone in the dark future. You've hooked your Militech pistol to the interface in your brain, upgraded your cybernetic fist with carbo glass blades, and installed cyber eyes that can pierce through the red haze like morning fog. There's a world full of opportunities out there just waiting for the right edge runner. There's only one problem. You don't have a group. Maybe you don't have a game master. Maybe you are a game master, but your tank of inspiration fuel is running on empty. Don't worry, Chumba, we've got you. Single player mode provides the tools a gamer needs to play Cyberpunk Red on their own or as part of group with no game master. It'll even function as an assistant GM, ready and willing to fill in the blanks in your dark future story. These tools include closed and open question oracles, fine-tuned to playing Cyberpunk Red, guidelines for running solo play investigations, social challenges, and combat, quick and dirty rules for fast fighting and net running, rules for solo play clocks, adding random timers for more unpredictability, mission builders to create a gig from scratch, roll it all random or just use them to inspire. Over 100 lists, tables, and random encounter charts to help you populate your Cyberpunk Red game with people, places, things, organizations, and plots. Forms to keep track of it all, from NPC stat blocks to scene and gig trackers. Expert solo player Peter Norton of Hollow Pond Solo Sagas has teamed up with our Talsorian Games to create the ultimate solo play guide for Cyberpunk Red. Use it on your own or use it with friends. Either way, it'll enhance your visit to Night City. Single player mode requires the Cyberpunk Red core rulebook in order to play. The 104-page softcover with PDF is available through DriveThruRPG for $30. If you just want to get the PDF, you can do so for $10. Nice. I am a huge fan of Cyberpunk Red. I have mentioned that time and time again. Okay, and I know I always have to point this out. All right, maybe its layout isn't the most intuitive in the world. I mean, I have actually heard stories of people who have cut and pasted the PDF together in a different way to make up their own rule book. But I can say that each chapter of Cyberpunk Red is packed with just as much, if not more, cool stuff and role-playing game goodness as entire role-playing books out there. That is not something I can say about every role-playing game that I've encountered over the years. Anyway, Kevin R. Smith says, yeah, TSR probably would have gone under if Gary had stuck around. Says, nobody who ran TSR was ever good at business, but Gygax, by all accounts, really sucked at it. His talents definitely lay elsewhere, like making shoes. Pete Strakolich is hanging with the gang, said, I just finished reading Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And they are so ready to run a science fiction adventure. Some discussion of Harn as well. Very nice. Very cool. Very cool. All right, let's wrap up with our final news piece, because the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game core rulebook and more have finally arrived in PDF over at DriveThruRPG. Here's a lowdown on the core rulebook. Take on the roles of Marvel's most famous superheroes, or create your own to fight some of the most dangerous supervillains in the Marvel universe. Featuring the all-new, all-different D616 system, the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game gives players the chance to explore their own corner of the multiverse. Written by New York Times bestseller Matt Forbeck, with artwork by Mike Bowden and Marvel's many incredible artists. Take on the roles of Marvel's most famous superheroes, featuring the all-new, all-different D616 system. Okay, I'm not sure why they're repeating that. The core rulebook features all the rules you need to play, including quick character creation, bombastic combat, and scores of amazing powers. Plus, full profiles of dozens of Marvel's greatest heroes and villains. All you need is this book, 3 standard dice, and some friends. The Marvel Multiverse is calling. Come join the fun. Right now, the 320-page PDF is available over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. It has taken quite a long time for this to finally show up over at DriveThruRPG. The Marvel Multiverse role-playing game has not been available in PDF. It has been available digitally, but it has not been available in PDF since it released. And gotta be honest, I did review the quick start. Well, it was their alpha, really. Let's be honest. It was their alpha, which was a complete mess. The book itself was a mess. There were incorrect stat blocks. But I'm sure they've, straightened things out by now. There's a lot of what appears to be pretty cool content for the Marvel multiverse. In fact, I think the newest book that's just out, is it the Fantastic Four? It might be the Fantastic Four. But there's an X-Men book, there's a Spider-Verse book, there's an Avengers book, and then there are some adventure campaigns as well. Kind of curious. I wouldn't mind taking a peek at this. And funny enough, to my knowledge, the reason why this was not available in PDF, it was not available by way of DriveThruRPG, is because Marvel did not want the PDFs to be pirated. And of course, they didn't need to be released in PDF to get pirated. I think pirates were getting their hands on them days after they would release. So I was like, okay. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I mentioned DriveThruRPG quite a few times. We got a lot of print releases from DriveThruRPG in today's news. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites, such as DriveThruRPG. So one of the ways you can help support the Gaming Gang is by utilizing our affiliate links to those One Bookshelf sites. And to do so, all you got to do is visit thegaminggang.com, click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do go a long way to keeping thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if just like what we do, you can support the outlet in a couple of other ways. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Lovely. Or you can become a monthly member of our Patreon. And every live show, I like to give a shout out to our Patreon members. At the $5 level, we have Gustavo Cavalho, Jason Lawman, Kuval, Kevin R. Smith, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzek. Our $10 members are Dan Webb, GameCat, Pete Strakulich, RPG Munch, Tessie Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM. And at our $25 tier, we have a new member who moved from the $10 tier to the $25 tier. That is Matt W. We also have Agile Monk and the Madman. You'll notice some of these folks are hanging out with us in chat as well. Thank you very kindly. Much appreciated, everybody. All right, so we're going to get into Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault 2 in just a few moments. I did want to mention, I have had folks comment or email and things like that. I guess there are some people out there who don't like when I talk about making a one-time donation through PayPal or becoming a member of our Patreon. One person emailed me and said they're not here to watch the stream for advertisements, and it's sort of like, but you're watching the video and there are ads from YouTube. Anyway, all I have to say is, what do I take? 2 minutes out of the entire stream, which is usually at least an hour and a half. Every once in a while, we're a bit shorter. But normally it's an hour and a half to maybe even 2 hours. And I take 2 minutes to mention how you can help support the outlet. I got to be honest, if that pisses you off, maybe you should go find something else to watch. I got to be honest with you. Because, I mean, if you are like that sensitive about it, I mean, I would understand if I was like some outlet that you will see every April Fool's Day. I always want to just sit there and be like, pretend, just do where it's like, oh, we're brought to you by SquareSafe or whatever, right? And then do a little bit of the show, and we'll continue right after this word from our sponsor, LifeLock, Stamps.com, all those ones that you hear if you listen to like podcasts and stuff like that. But you know what usually happens? I don't have a stream on April 1st. It usually falls like on the weekend or a Monday or Friday. I think once recently we had an April Fool's Day stream, and I was like, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But anyway, I was going to say, I'm sure these are the same people who watch network TV and never think twice about every 30 minutes that they watch of network TV is going to have 8 minutes or so of advertisements. But you're going to whine about how I mention something once every show. It's like, okay. See ya. Mike says, just trolls. Yeah, I know, but it's like Ryan Jackson's with us in chat. Welcome aboard. They say they love the new Monster Vault 2. Kevin R. Smith says, last year, didn't you announce you were switching to all D&D content all the time? Yeah, you know what? I think that was the April Fool's gag. That the channel was going all Wizards of the Coast, all D&D. Not even third-party stuff, just all Wizards of the Coast. Mammoth says they watched some old shows. There were 10 minutes of ads each hour. Now that same hour consists of 20 minutes of ads. As far as network TV, yeah. I'm sure the Madman's not talking about old episodes of The Dispatch. I've gone back and I checked out some of those old streams of yours, Jeff, and I'll be damned, man. It's like half the time is advertisements. Something else you got to keep in mind, like if you're watching live and you get hit with ads, I've got nothing to do with that. It's my choice is either no ads for no monetization or yes ads. That's it. Now, once the stream renders or once I upload a video, I can adjust. So if you watch the live streams after, the next day, so it's got to be after like 9-10 a.m. Central Time, because it takes YouTube that long to completely render the video. And I will go in there. Half the time, there's no ads, even though it's supposed to automatically add ads. That's why I mentioned this last week. There was an issue with the videos not rendering. They were taking over a day. In fact, my live unboxing of the Dungeons and Dragons starter set took 2 days to render. And all the monetization I could have gotten from those views, nothing, because it hadn't finished rendering. Now, you could watch the video. It wasn't like you couldn't come into the channel and watch the video. Sure, you could. In fact, you could watch it in high def. In fact, I want to say the live streams are 1440. But yeah, I was like, you guys are killing me, YouTube. You're killing me. Anyway. But yeah, I was like, what the hell? So I couldn't even go in and do anything. But normally what I'll do, like as an example, last night's show, this morning I put the little end screen on, which will suggest other videos because I can't do anything with that while it's rendering. And then I took a look and I kid you not, every 3 minutes was an ad break that YouTube had inserted. Sometimes they insert nothing. Sometimes they just go insane. So what I'll do is I will actually go in there and delete so that you might get an ad break every 8 to 9 minutes. Maybe, because the ad breaks are not guaranteed to take place. But it's like, yeah, I mean, come on. If you hang out and you watch the stream, if you enjoy the videos and me mentioning, supporting the outlet, which there aren't a whole lot of people out there who do. But if I mention that and it irritates you, well, don't let the door hit you on the way out. DBS, can't you render the video privately before making it public? I don't know. What am I talking about? Ignore me. Not on the live streams. So, of course, when I upload like a review video or a standalone first look, oh, yeah, I don't make those videos go public until they're done rendering. They've gone through the process to make sure there's no copyright conflict, which normally there isn't because I am using music that I have a right to utilize. But as far as the live stream, I have no control over it. Only thing I can control is what's going on here. That's it. That is all I have any control over. So, Mammoth says they've been distracted. They're speaking to things when they have no idea what's being discussed. There's some Planet of the Apes discussion going on. Nice. Very nice. All right. So, as I mentioned, tonight we are going to be diving on in and taking a first look at Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault 2 Electric Boogaloo from Kobold Press. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
2 minutes to go to the snack bar for a quick refresher before showtime. No crowds to buck, just go get it. You'll be sorry you missed your chance to enjoy some of the many tempting goodies waiting for you. Stretch your legs now while the stretching's good. There's still time to get a mouth-watering hot dog, a sparkling ice-cold soda, assorted flavors of ice cream, all kinds of candy, the most delicious steaming hot coffee you ever drank, and freshly popped popcorn piping hot. Make a beeline for the snack bar right now to quench your thirst.
Can't get enough Super Sugar Crisp.
I'll get Sugar Bear with my blob traption.
Love the taste of Super Sugar Crisp. Who's giving us Super Sugar Crisp?
The Blob, Sugar Bear.
And my blob traption.
Try this switch, Blob.
Smart thinking, Sugar Bear.
Smart thinking to have a Sugar Bear breakfast every morning featuring vitamin fortified post Super Sugar Crisp. The taste to put a smile on your face.
Wilkins Instant Coffee soothes the headaches of life.
I don't have any headaches.
Care for cream and sugar?
And now, here comes Big Bruiser with light flashing. There's the wreck. That Big Bruiser up to it. This lever puts the power winch into action. And Big Bruiser does it again. Comes with jack, tools, fender, and spare tire to repair the wreck. Pickup truck included, too. Get battery-powered Big Bruiser by Marx.
The time is 1893, and novelist and inventor H.G. Wells makes a startling announcement.
Gentlemen, I am talking about traveling through time in a machine constructed for that very purpose.
The first to use the machine, however, is Dr. John Leslie Stevenson, better known to history as Jack the Ripper. And what was to be a voyage of discovery, in an instant becomes a manhunt through time, from 19th century England to 20th century San Francisco.
May I come in?
Certainly, certainly. You were literally the last person on Earth I expected to see. You've given me quite a turn.
I'm obliged to take you back to face the consequences of your acts.
You take me back. How do you propose to do that? By force?
Be reasonable, John. We don't belong here.
A 19th century gentleman.
Are you quite certain I'm not forcing you to do anything that you'll regret?
Forcing me?
And a 20th century woman.
My God, Herbert, I'm practically raping you.
Yeah, that's true.
Join forces to capture a criminal from the past, at large, in the modern world. But even more than they want him, he needs them.
Throw me the key, and I'll release the girl.
On your honor, John.
You have my word as a gentleman. Now, there's just one thing. I would have expected that you'd notice by now that I am not a gentleman. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, Herbert.
You haven't instructed him in the use of one of these machines, have you? HG, it's checkmate, and you've lost again.
A romantic adventure, a breathless chase, around the world, and across a century. Time after time.
Yes, time after time. I remember seeing that movie probably about 1980, and I wasn't in high school yet. And we did not have cable TV. My family did not. We didn't have cable. So it was network TV, UHF, PBS, or nothing. Although I think by that time, no, we didn't even have a VCR. So I went with my dad and my grandparents to visit my uncle, who at that time was living in Iowa City, Iowa. And I remember I was sleeping in the basement and I was up watching cable TV, and that came on. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. And then over the years, when you would see Malcolm McDowell play villains, I would tell my friends, I go, well, yeah, you know, he's in this movie. He's a good guy. He plays H.G. Wells. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's always the bad guy in movies. I'm like, no, I'm seriously. So there's some discussion about Mary Steenburgen, the stepmom, the mom from Step Brothers. She was in a lot of stuff. She is also married to Ted Danson. In fact, I believe she's an Oscar winner, if I remember correctly. So you might want to Wikipedia that real quick. All right. So, one thing I forgot to mention was, hey, look, I'm trying to squeeze money out of you again. Again! I know no shame. So tonight, we are going to take a first look at Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault 2 from my friends over at Kobold Press. This 355-page hardcover is available now. Carries an MSRP of $59.99. Or if you just want to grab the PDF, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $39.99. Having said all that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Monster Vault 2. Couple of things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, my friends over at Kobold Press were kind enough to send me this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. It's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of this hardcover, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find inside. We'll actually kind of take a deep dive into some of the entries here to give you a better feel for how this is presented. I got to say, the first Monster Vault for Tales of the Valiant, I really dug. I thought it was excellent. In fact, it is, if I remember correctly, it's my favorite of the Tales of the Valiant core books. Tessie Treggy's talking about the Rocky Horror Picture Show, that they've acted in productions of it. They have no shame left. It's time warped away. Actually, my friend Kim, who passed away recently, she was very into Rocky Horror Picture Show. In fact, I was about 16 years old. I went with her and some of her friends to it with one of my pals. Funny enough, they made my friends sit in the back row. They let me sit with them. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Greater foes, greater glory. The vault opens again. Monster Vault 2 releases over 300 new creatures to populate your next tale of high fantasy adventure. Pit your heroes against an army of strange and never-before-seen enemies, and wield new GM tools to streamline every encounter. Pit your heroes against the inscrutable machinations of Tynan the Twilight Queen. Survive the destructive force of the Void Harbinger. Escape a bar brawl unscathed. Monster templates quickly create themed variants on any monster, including Psychic, Feyblast, Fiendish, and more. Tips and tables for villainous plots and campaigns lie within. Deploy new rules for doom points and ramp up the stakes in the face of your players' heroic ambitions. With extensive appendices, simplified stat blocks, and monster bundles to quickly fill your next dungeon or combat encounter, Monster Vault 2 expands your Tales of the Valiant bestiary with unique foes perfect for any fantasy setting. Let your next battle begin. Pete Straklich said they just got a commercial of a guy shaving his chest. They're appalled. Yep. Since this is, an adults only channel. There you go. Kevin R. Smith pointing out that Mary Steenburgen won Best Supporting Actress for Melvin and Howard. Ta-da! All right, first thing we're going to do, let's take a look at the credits page. A lot of folks worked very hard to bring this to life. So let's give credit where credit is due. So our table of contents, we've got our introduction, discussion about how to use the book. Chapter 1 is running monstrous campaigns. Chapter 2 is monster templates. And then we will get into our bestiary from A to Z. And that's how we'll wrap. We'll have some appendices at the end. So I believe chapter 1 is going to give us some new options for some rule mechanics. So we have Doom as an optional mechanic, which was introduced in the Monster Vault and expanded in the Game Master's Guide. It's a set of guidelines intended to help Game Masters keep the threat high in climactic combat encounters, even for powerful player characters who might otherwise cut through any challenge in their path with ease. And of course, keeping in mind, it is an optional concept for you to include. Running memorable villains. Luckily, I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty good at having recurring baddies as well. Pete Straklich asks, is that Krampus on the cover? People have mentioned that when I did the news piece. Maybe it was Pete Straklich at that time, who also had said, hey, that looks like Krampus. I know it does. It really does look like Krampus. What is a villain? Villains are monsters, but not all monsters are villains. True villains cover a range from petty, corrupt officials to world-conquering liches, and they add more interesting stakes, story elements, and drama to any role-playing game. For our purposes, a villain isn't just a monster that opposes the heroes. It's a full-blown individual with motives, plans, and resources, and for most games, that villain appears more than once. Creatures that die in droves, mowed down by heroic adventurers, are really just mooks, henchmen, underlings, foes, and assorted horrors, or as I used to refer to them as, jamokes. What sets most villains apart are their motives, their goals, and their schemes in achieving those goals. And then we have a section talking about making a villain memorable. Monster bundles. So these are an example of some of the monster bundles, like Age of Giants, Fallen Court, Invasion from the Sea. Oh, that's nice. Come on. Give Daddy a little sugar. I always like the Kobold Press artwork. As far as the production quality, decent paper stock. It's not super thick, but it should hold up all right. So here we're going to get into our monster templates. I'll tell you what, I'll get into what they are. Monster templates are one of the more hands-on tools that you can use to modify a wide variety of existing creature stat blocks. Applying a template to a creature can reinforce its role, or it can be used to create a whole new version of the creature. For more information on how and when to use templates, see the Game Master's Guide. From magical familiars to the mighty Great Worm, this chapter offers 8 new templates for modifying monsters. Each template features an example stat block that shows the template applied to a monster from Monster Vault for easy reference. So there's our Great Worm and an example of it. A Gloomrot Ogre. A Hellspawn creature. A tar skeleton? Okay. So as an example, we have a Triceratops tar skeleton. Interesting. Now we'll move into our monsters A to Z. And I'm going to take a guess. We're going to have some pretty wacky. We'll have some that are pretty cool, and I'm sure we'll have a few that are sort of like, huh? Oh, here we go. Bar Brawl. So that is a monster stat block. No, okay. I guess I could see that because it's kind of like a swarm. The Blue Shroom. Icicles hang from the fungal creature's dark blue cap, and yellow spots peer out like eyes. So we get some information about it. Feeds on body heat. Its remains are edible. It says the uncooked flesh of blue shrooms is considered a delicacy to some. while contemplating other foods and providing a cooling chill to dishes. Cooking, however, destroys the taste and makes the flesh tough like leather. The Branchy Snatch. This gigantic horned flea, all green with violet splotches, preens itself with one of its crab-like claws. They are accidental invaders. They thrive on the shores of the acidic and poisonous lakes and seas of the lower plains. Sometimes they blunder through portals to other realms, leading to the slow devastation of local waterways and populations of native aquatic animals. They have vice claws. A Celebrant Shade. Carrion Nightmare. So now it looks like we have kind of a new tool. Got Clockworks. So we got some new Clockworks here. Clockwork Assassin, Clockwork Constructor, Clockwork Scorpion, and of course, the Free City of Zobek has a lot of clockwork inhabitants. It's a Clockwork Watchman. A Coastal Marauder, which also looks like they're clockwork. It is a construct. Crimson Mist. We have some new demons, new devils. A Juris Devil. We got the Blight Devil. New dragons. Adamantine, Corsine, Verdure, new drakes. All right, let's find one that we can kind of dive into. How about the Spellweaver Ettercap? 4 additional spider legs sprout from the arachnid humanoid's torso, and its mandibles drip a foul ichor. It wears a glyph-studded ceremonial robe and wields a gnarled staff of bone and crystal. So this information here is giving us a description of the image that we see. They are arcane arachnids. Some ettercaps experiment with the arcane, seeking to enhance their natural abilities. These spellweavers conduct dark rituals on prisoners and other creatures deep in the caves dotting their territories of ancient forest, the goals of which are known only to themselves. Any sizable ettercap raiding party often has at least one spellweaver among them. So we're going to get our armor class, hit points, speed, perception, and stealth, resistant to they have monstrosity resistance. They're immune to poison and being poisoned. They have dark vision out to 60 feet, and they speak common and also have telepathy out to 60 feet. They have magic-infused webs. The Spellweaver is resistant to exhaustion and to the frightened condition. That's the monstrosity resistance. They can spider climb. They can climb difficult surfaces, including upside down on ceilings, without needing to make an ability check. Web sense. When in contact with a web, the Spellweaver knows the exact location of any other creature in contact with that same web. They're also web walkers, so they ignore movement restrictions caused by webbing. Their actions, they have a multi-attack, so they can make 1 bite attack and 1 webbed staff attack, or make 2 poison bolt attacks. You can also replace 1 attack with use of spell casting. So they have bite, the web staff, poison bolt, and their spells. They have command, detect magic, magic hand, or I should say mage hand. Hold, ray of enfeeblement, web, fear, and slow. Bonus actions, web step, The Spellweaver magically teleports along with any equipment it's wearing or carrying up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space. The origin and destination spaces must be in an area with webbing. And then they also can launch a glob of webbing at one creature it can see within 30 feet of it. Nice. Ooh, a face fetch. That's sweet. Mage Tower is with us. Says they just got this book yesterday. It's an excellent addition to Tales of the Valiant. Of course, because this is for Tales of the Valiant, it means it is also useful for Dungeons and Dragons and any other 5e or even new Dungeons and Dragons adjacent fantasy role-playing games. Got some new genies here, new giants. The Frost Giant Jarl. The icy blue giant wields a massive axe, and its armor appears to be of ice. Its eyes glow with indomitable rage. So giving us information about that. We also have Fire Giant Commander. So it looks like we're getting some giant leaders. A War Giant. A Pebble Golem. A group of pebble people carry a ruby between them. Is what we see down here. Pebble golems are created to harvest fungi, crystals, and other materials, fitting into tiny cracks or holes underground. Less scrupulous creators might send them into shops or rivals' homes to acquire components. Each pebble golem is infused with a drop of blood from its creator, tying it intrinsically to a specific arcane practitioner. So we have them individually. We also have them as a swarm. A keg golem. Drink me! Damn it! A grave hag. Ooh, that's kind of cool. We have a field hag here too. A wizened gray-skinned woman's face peers out beneath a load of bones piled high on her back. Her voice is both guttural and piercing, like steel dragged along stones. The carried skull's eye sockets seem to leer up here on her head. Grave hags subsist on the primal fear felt by creatures that know they are moments from death, also known as Thanatopia? Not something. Or no, I'm sorry. Thanatophobia. Not something I'm familiar with. Some hags lure victims into their cozy homes only to submit them to the death traps inside. Others subject their victims to agony in torture chambers. Others still wander fields of battle after the slaughter, looking for those soon to die and gorging on the palpable desperation. Well, well, well. Mark Hawkswell's with us asking, are there any major mechanical differences between Tales of the Valiant and 5e? Mechanically? Not, well, I mean, if we're just talking about like the core mechanics, no. I don't remember anything. I don't recall anything that's vastly different mechanically between Tales of the Valiant and 5e and 5.5. New Dungeons and Dragons. Still looking at DC number, meter exceed. Now, the particulars, it could be, there are differences there. In fact, if I remember correctly, even just your attribute scores with 5e and Tales of the Valiant, your modifiers are different. It's been quite a long time since I took a peek at the Tales of the Valiant player book, and even further back since I've taken a peek at the 5e player's handbook. That is for sure. All right, we got a new kobold. Did we only get one? No, we got two. Let's take a look at the true scale. For behind the mob of angry kobolds steps a larger, does that say beefier? Yes, it is. A larger, beefier kobold. Their muscles bulge as... I'm just thinking of a little kobold. As they flex for show. And their snout twists in terrible grin. A beast among kobolds. All right. The true scale is the brute of the kobold world, a hulking specimen among its smaller, slimmer kin, roughly the height of a dwarf, but much wider. Wider than a dwarf. Okay. Because dwarves are, pretty damn stocky. Their rippling muscles presage a ferocious strength. In contrast to the sneakiness and cunning of many other kobolds, I've got a cunning plan, me lord. The true scale is straightforward and devastating in combat. Okay, so it's a challenge rating 3. But as Mark Hawkswell was asking, because I've had people ask me, what's the difference between Tales of the Valiant and Dungeons and Dragons? Why should I bother playing Tales of the Valiant if I can just play D&D? Because they are so similar. And my response is that Tales of the Valiant, well, completely modern and completely built on really the open game license. It does still have a bit of an old school vibe to the proceedings. So when you create your player characters, the player characters are heroes, they're heroic, but they're not necessarily starting out. Now, granted, we're not talking like an OSR wizard who has 1 hit point. It's like, oh, damn, he stubbed his toe and died. We do have more survivability for the player characters. They don't have that overpowered feel like 5e has. So that's one of the things that I've never been real keen on with the newer editions of Dungeons and Dragons is that first level characters just don't feel like first level characters. And I get it. I understand people want to play, big, powerful, heroic characters. I'm all good with that. But the thing is, if that's how you start off, where do you go to from there? Star Wars doesn't start off with Luke Skywalker, a master of the Force, teaching young Jedi, young Padawans. No. He's a whiny kid on a desert planet. And that is how, most fantasy and science fiction series will start off. So as an example, we have Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. If you read the Fritz Leiber stories, which I'm a huge fan of Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, in the first book, we have their kind of almost like their origins. And then the first time they meet, they're certainly not the sort of master thieves in the beginning as they are when we get to the Knight and Knaves of Magic. Or no, I'm sorry. It's Knight and Knave of Swords is the final book with Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. How these things work. But with Tales of the Valiant, mechanically, not a lot different. I mean, like spells and stuff. The details are different. if you like take a deeper dive into things. But mechanically, if you play 5e D&D, if you played D&D 2024, you can slip right on in to Tales of the Valiant like it's a broken-in pair of slippers. Really can. Pete Stracklet says, a lot of cool stuff here. Pebble columns, nice. We had the Akalo Swarm. Hey, it's related to the eye from Alien Earth. A collection of hundreds of eyeballs floats along, trailing ganglia and dripping caustic fluid that sizzles when it hits the ground. And we even see it sizzling. They are failed experiments to create living scrying sensors. So they're experiments that went wrong. We've got some new ooze, owlbears. We have little baby owlbears. Yes. You probably over the years you've seen my little owl bear back here. A massive roar echoes in the distance just as a small creature wobbles out from the brush on unsteady ursine legs that end in powerful talons. I gotta say, face is a little too cutesy. Just has a little too much of almost like a feminine little girl look to it. But I do like the concept of, having stat blocks for, hatchlings and juveniles. Owlbears typically have 2 to 4 cubs every 4 years. They reach adulthood at around 3 years, and most stay with their parents for at least 2. For the first year, the cubs are mere hatchlings, extremely reliant on their parents for food. Juvenile owlbears are at least a year old and range as far from the nest as their parents allow. Young owlbears are rarely without a parent watching nearby. Okay. Bad grammar there, folks. Should be just keeping watch nearby. But that doesn't stop them from getting into mischief, like climbing through barn windows to feast on small livestock. Very cool. I'm a sucker for bestiaries. I think most of you who watch these videos, if you've been hanging out with the Gaming Gang channel for any amount of time, well, more than just a few weeks, I just love monster books. We've got the Rakshasa, Chaos Touched Rakshasa, the Rampede. This massive insectoid creature has shovel-like head and dozens of legs from which pairs of spikes protrude, anchoring it to the ground. Oh, yeah, and probably punching those right through your armor. We've got the Rosetta, looking like nothing so much as a rose garden grown in humanoid shape. The creature's body is formed of tough, thorny tangles of plant matter, studded here and there with tiny blossoms. A viscous, faintly pink liquid drips from the ends of its thorns, and the sweet scent of roses permeates the air around it. Its head is a giant rose in vibrant bloom. And watch, it's probably like vicious. Mateo is with us in chat. Says, do the chickens have large talons? Oh, back when we were looking at that big muscular kobold, he threw us said if Arnold Schwarzenegger was a kobold. So Rosettas originate in the fairy realms, where they serve as both tenders and guardians of gardens and orchards. They have since migrated to other planes that prove especially hospitable. Typically, a family of Rosettas works together to care for a single estate, patiently tending to the flowers and trees, keeping them pruned, healthy, and productive. Rosettas are invertebrate artists and will shape their gardens into beautiful and fanciful affairs. Okay, so they're not that evil. Though they prefer parley to violence, Rosettas are proud of their homes and yards, suffering trespassers poorly. Rosetta's first recourse when confronted by a threat is to use its perfume to divert it peacefully away. When forced to act directly, family of Rosettas uses teamwork and its superior knowledge of the terrain to overcome foes. Rosettas fear and loathe hags. They see the wizened fae as nature-despoiling blights on the landscape and refuse to work with them for any reason. Nice. Very nice. Keith Lewis says, reminds them of Godzilla versus Biollante. I remember that movie. It's a scuttle web, a shatter star, a shadow caller. This tall, willowy fey warrior stands with confidence, a scimitar in their hand. Shadowy figures resembling the warrior appear nearby, each wielding a shadowy blade. Born of shadow, shadow callers are fey hailing from the plane of shadow and possessing a primal connection with shadow matter. They have the ability to manifest shadow duplicates which they control, and they view these as past and future versions of themselves, constant reminders of paths untaken and those yet to come. The many shadow callers stay within the plane of shadows. Their abilities have long attracted the attention of other fae, particularly lords and ladies who employ them for tasks requiring their expertise, often infiltration or assassination. This frequently brings them to the material plane where they especially stick to dark places when their missions allow. Well, challenge rating 7 on that one. Silt Lurker. Oh, my best friend Elliot Miller's favorite monsters, spiders. Being heavily sarcastic there. Stone Sage, Stone Sifter. The Swarm Skin, that looks pretty gross. A corpse approaches, its skin bulging and flexing as if something moves just beneath it. Its mouth falls open, releasing insects that crawl over its face before disappearing back inside its mouth and other orifices. Yes. A void troll. We have a toadstool troll. This troll is stooped to little more than half its height, as though the large fungi on its back is too heavy to bear. The creature breaks a smaller mushroom off one of its shoulders and munches on it. Through some natural or magical means, toadstool trolls have developed a symbiotic relationship with mushrooms and other fungi. They grow mushrooms and shelf fungus all over their bodies, including a large toadstool from their back that serves to shade the troll from rain and sun. Where a toadstool troll's blood falls on the ground, clusters of mushrooms are sure to grow. And when one of the trolls dies, its body decomposes into a hillock of fungus. Toadstool trolls have a reputation for friendliness and can often be found in the company of forest creatures, fae, and even other trolls. Though they are easier to get along with than their more mundane cousins, they retain their ferocity, and once angered, they are difficult to calm once again. A toadstool troll can be a life-saving ally to those it trusts, however, sharing the rejuvenating magic of its mushrooms. Sweet! We have some undead lords. Is that what we're seeing here? Yep, undead lords. There is plenty here in this book. Well, we already knew we had over 300. We got the Wasteborn Despoiler, a figure with a humanoid torso astride an arachnid body emerges from the wastes, its 4 arms each end in 3-fingered claws. A metal mask obscures all but its eyes. There are ancient, otherworldly things hidden in the wastes of the world. The wastes are also home to outcasts and wanderers. When a wasteland wanderer stumbles upon one of these ancient entities, that entity awakens to whisper in the dark, offering power beyond the scraps the Badlands provide. A person that agrees emerges transformed and burning with a hunger for conquest and destruction. A wrath white, fueled by vengeance. Rage burns in the eyes of this deathly pale figure, and dark energy seeps from a wound in its chest. When a person of strong will dies unjustly, they may return as a wrath white. These wronged parties seek vengeance against those that cause their deaths, resting only when they feel the scales have been balanced. All righty. So we're going to wrap up. We've got some appendices. Looks like we got some new animals there too. So we have some new NPCs. Yep. Arcane Grenadier, Bard Maestro, First Servants, Merchant Captain. We have our creatures by challenge rating. And an index. We have creatures by type, creatures by terrain. No, but you know what? We had it all in the table of contents, didn't we? For each of these? Yep. So you really don't need an index. Sweet. So that's a peek inside Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault 2 from Kobold Press. This 355-page hardcover is available now. Carries an MSRP of $59.99. If you want to just grab the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $39.99. Agile Monk has joined us late. Very welcome. Very welcome you are. With a $5 super chat. Says, yes, it has a good table of contents. Thank goodness. Oh, yeah. Otherwise, it's a big pain in the ass. And, of course, I'll have a review of the Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault 2 in the not-too-distant future. This weekend, I should have my review of Labyrinth Adventures. So stay tuned for that. Tomorrow night, I did not get that package yet from Mongoose Publishing. It was coming from England. So it's here in the U.S. I know it's made it to the U.S. May not have gotten out of customs yet. So we are going to be taking a look at the Imperium Maledictum Macarian Requisition Guide for Warhammer 40K Roleplay Imperium Maledictum. So that is what we're going to be taking a look at on tomorrow's show. So hopefully you'll join me for that. That's it for this time out. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, tip of the cap to you. Because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company, making Napoleon Dynamite references while I'm sharing the news or taking a peek at a game, either unboxing a board game or flipping on through a role-playing game release. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,300 videos here on the channel. It is much appreciated. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell because it'll not only let you know when the dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent review of the Castles and Crusades starter set from Trollord Games. Thank you kindly for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and as always, I certainly hope every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.